Hello. So I think I'm live. It looks like I am. Let me know if you can see me. Apologies if it looks like I'm filming on a potato right now. I don't think my webcam on my laptop's that good. But yeah, let's get this thing started. So my name is Yussef, and I'm a zoologist and wildlife presenter. And Roxy has kindly invited me to come on here and talk to you guys all about what I do. And yeah, just we're going to actually be chatting bugs today, so it should be pretty cool. I've got some special guests just down there for you to meet in a moment. They're six-legged guests, so they're not people, I'm afraid. But yeah, so to start with, I want to give you some idea of who I am and what I do. Like I say, so um, I am a wildlife presenter, like I say, and I've most recently been working on a thing with BBC Earth Kids. So BBC Earth Kids is a brand new channel on YouTube, um, affiliated with BBC Earth, obviously, and just dedicated to kids. So it's an age range of between 8 to 12-year-olds, but in my opinion, it's a much bigger range than that. I love the episodes, but I am slightly biased. But yeah, so my show on there is called BUGFACE. Basically, it says what it does on the tin. We get famous faces in. I'm the host. We talk about the bugs. There's a big reveal. So basically, we start off sat on a sofa, me and the guest, and there's a tank on a table in front of us, covered in a cloth. We do a bit of chat, and then after a little while, I pull off the cloth and reveal what the bug is for that day. So we've had some fantastic bugs, some fantastic guests. They've reacted really well, really funny. And after that, we move over to a reclining chair thing where the guest sits, and basically that's where the fun happens. And I put the bug on their face. We've had many different reactions, as I'm sure you can guess. There's been a lot of screamers, been a lot of sort of silent, shocked people. But it's been really fun. I really like it because it's hopefully it's entertaining as well as educational. So there's obviously the fear factor of the bug being on the guest's face and it's a bit of screaming. It's quite hysterical at times, but there's also that underlying educational aspect. So when the guest is sat in the chair, they read out facts from an autocue above them. Um, so they do sort of hopefully it educates the audience about the bugs, so they go away learning something new as well. So yeah, that's Bugface. I do have some questions from you guys. I will answer, and then so I'll answer a few of these, and then we will get the guests out, and you can have a look at those if you want. So first question up is, how did you end up working with BBC Earth? Um, so it's a bit of a long story. Before I worked for BBC Earth, I actually used to work in a zoo. So always loved animals, always loved um, science communication and presenting animals. So one of my roles at the zoo was as a presenter to live presentations with an audience. So handling sessions, things like that. And I also got doing online stuff, so science communication stuff online on my Instagram, a little bit on YouTube as well, for organisations such as the Wildlife Trust, and also just my own personal stuff. So I'd make videos about things that I quite like, making videos about things that people maybe don't know about or deserve more recognition. So I made a video about duck mussels in our waterways. So duck mussels are a type of mussel that live in our rivers and lakes, and not really many people know about them, but they do a really important job at filtering the water and keeping a healthy environment. So I make videos about things like that, things like how crested geckos lick their eyeballs because they don't have any eyelids, so they need to keep their eyes nice and moist. So any sort of fun, engaging content I try to achieve. Um, and then from there, I actually somebody contacted me from BBC Earth, a very nice guy called Chris Allen, and he contacted me through Instagram and said, um, "We really like what you do. I am the producer on a brand new show. Would you like to have a phone call and chat?" So I said yes, of course, obviously. We had the phone call. We explained about the show, how it was going to work, and it sounded brilliant. So I was very excited. But to get to that point, I had to do a screen testing. And bearing in mind, this would have been my second screen testing. I'd only done one before that. I was pretty nervous, but I went up to London. I did my screen testing, which is basically like an audition. They put you in front of the camera. You have a little script to read, to memorize and then read. And yeah, I got the job. So it must have gone pretty well. And this, bear in mind, this was back in September time, and I've only been allowed to announce about BugFace quite recently. So it's been like a good, thank you, Roxy. It's been like a good 6 months or so since I've known about BugFace that I've had to keep it quiet. And if you know me, I'm pretty bad at keeping things quiet. So that was a challenge, but I did it. It's announced now, and yeah, that's how I ended up working with BBC Earth. And then we filmed 21 episodes at the moment. I think 5 are out now. You can go check them out. I think Roxy's linked them down below for you. But we've got loads more to come out, so it's really fun. Hopefully you enjoy it too. Yeah. Next question. What was your favourite experience? I'm guessing working on BBC Earth. So my favourite experience, that's a tricky one because like I said, we've had a lot of cool guests, a lot of cool bugs. And I'm not allowed to talk about a lot of them because the episodes aren't out yet. But I can talk about the ones that have been released. Favorite. So one of my favorites, just from like a nostalgia point of view, is I did 2 episodes with Dick and Dom, who, if you're British, you probably know who Dick and Dom are. I grew up watching them, as I'm sure you did. Biggest sort of kids TV people in the country, I think, really. And I had them on my show, so it was madness to me. Really, really cool. As you can imagine, with Dick and Dom, all hell broke loose. There was a lot of drama and excitement. Dick's episode is out now. I think that's the latest one to be released. So if you want to see that, you can go check that out. I think for Dom's episode, you might have to wait a month or two, but they're both in each one anyway. So that was really fun. Another fun experience I had was with a guy called Johannes Radebe. You might know him. He's a professional dancer on Strictly Come Dancing. He's a really good dancer, actually. You should check him out. But we had him on the show, and he freaked out. Basically, that was quite a fun experience. He had flat millipedes on his face, and he didn't really enjoy the experience. He was grabbing onto my hand. I genuinely thought he was going to break my hand at one point. He was squeezing so hard, like he was giving birth or something. But that was good fun. It was a lot of fun to film. Um, and what else? Also, it's going to sound a bit vain, but I didn't really realize I'd like it. But I really like having my hair and makeup done. Like, it's quite therapeutic sitting there and having someone do that and style you. It's quite good actually. I'd recommend it. But yeah, and obviously the whole team were amazing, and getting to work with so many talented people and people that are in the same mindset was really cool for me. Um, what first sparked your interest in bugs? Oh, this is a tricky one to answer because, like most animal lovers, I'm sure, there was never really a day where I decided I liked animals. It was just ever since I can remember, I loved animals, not just bugs, all sorts of animals. Reptiles, mammals, everything. I was that weird kid in the playground though who would go and dig up worms and things and make little birds' nests at the side of the playground. So maybe there was a bit of a clue a clue in that. But I also remember, so my dad's Moroccan, so we used to go to Morocco quite a lot for holidays and things. And I remember being in like the Sahara Desert and seeing scorpions and just being fascinated, and even things like dung beetles and cockroaches. I'd absolutely love, much to my mum's horror. But yeah, so ever since I can remember, I've loved animals, including bugs. Um, I used to, bug hunt in the garden at an age where it probably wasn't acceptable anymore. But yeah, always loved bugs. Um, what creepy crawlies do you currently have at home? Okay, so I only actually have one species, which I will show you in very short time, very soon. I have had a few more before. So these guys, not to ruin the surprise, but they're a species of stick insect, and I've had a few species of stick insect before, but these are the only ones I've got at the moment. I might as well get them out now. To be honest, I feel like I'm making you wait long enough. So these guys are called Diaphrides gigantea. So here you go. So these are both females. What I'm about to show you. This one here is just a baby. So if you think this looks big, wait until you see her big sister. So this is an adult female. As you can see, they're bright green. They come from the Caribbean. They eat things like eucalyptus. In captivity here, I feed them things like bramble. It's just a bit easier to get hold of. Um, but yeah, so although the females are bright green, um, these guys are actually display sexual dimorphism, which means the males and females look completely different. They're a little bit active at the moment. So I might actually put one away because they're fighting. Well, they're not fighting; they're just getting tangled up. But never work with animals. So as I was saying, these guys are completely different to the males. All hell is breaking loose. Um, okay, so here we go. We'll just use one for the moment. So they're completely different to the males. I'll get there eventually. So these guys are big. They're green. I don't know if you can see, but they've got tiny, tiny little wings. So for the females, wings are completely useless. There's no way those wings would be able to lift up her heavy body. So to put that in comparison to the males, I will show you a male now. Sadly, I don't have any living males. Um, this is a specimen I keep in the freezer. Zoologist for you. But so this is a male. So male and female. Uh, don't you look? That's your granddad. So this is a male, as you can see. He's brown. He's not that pretty green color. He's much smaller. So he's fully grown. Or he was fully grown. And in comparison to the female, he's tiny. He's even actually smaller than the baby female. Um, and as well, you might notice, don't you fall off. He's got those really long wings running. Sorry, I'm trying to control it on as well. Running all the way down the length of his body. So these guys can fly. They're much better at flying than the females, who can't fly at all. And where you going? There you go. So yeah, as I was saying, they're completely different. Really easy to sex. Really easy to tell the difference. Okay, so that's sexual dimorphism. Another really cool thing about stick insects is it's probably what they're famous for. Really, it's kind of in the name. They're excellent at camouflage and mimicry. They're the masters of mimicry, really. So depending on the species, depends on what they look like and what they're trying to mimic, obviously. But these guys live on eucalyptus in the wild, so their bright green colours really help to disguise themselves in their surroundings. Um, so other species look more like twigs to what am I trying to say? To look more like drywood. That's what I'm trying to say. But as well as the physical camouflage aspect, they also do a type of behavioural mimicry. Again, it's more evident in some species than others. These guys don't do it quite as much, so they're quite heavy-bodied. But there are some species that will sway, and that will make it look like they're swaying in the wind. So it really helps to disguise themselves from predators. Um, but yeah, that's these guys. They're pretty harmless. So they have their mandibles, which is their version of a mouth, which they use to shear away vegetation. These guys are herbivores, um, and they can't really do any more damage other than that. They do have quite sharp. I don't know if you'll be able to see on this camera. They have quite sharp claws on the end of their feet. There, they use that for gripping. And underneath those claws, they also have little suction cups, so they're able to walk up pretty much any surface. They do struggle with some things. They struggle with the hair on my arm just to grip onto it, but they're really good climbers. They're arboreal, which means they like to climb. Yeah, that's these guys. They do also have another defense mechanism. These guys are kind of too friendly to do it, but in the wild, what would happen if you got too close? She'd put her back legs up like in a V shape, and she's got, again, I don't know if you'll be able to see, but she's got little spikes on the underside of those back legs. And basically, if you get a finger or any kind of appendage in there, she'll snap those legs together, and it can be pretty painful. In some species, like the jungle nymphs, which are the heaviest species of stick insect, they have really, really long spikes, and if they snap your finger, they can actually draw blood. So it's quite an effective defense tactic. Um, as I was saying about their camouflage, it's not just the adult form or the living form, I should say, that's camouflaged. They also have camouflaged eggs. So I've got some eggs here to show you. I might actually. Oh no, it should be right there. So I've got some eggs here to show you. Don't know if you can see, but they actually. So these are camouflaged. These are camouflaged to look like seeds, and we're not entirely sure why stick insect eggs look like seeds. I'm going to lose her. Let's just let her do a thing. I'll get her in a minute. We're not entirely sure why they look like seeds. We reckon there's a couple of reasons. So we think it might be to do with the fact that when stick insects lay eggs, they can take a little while for them to hatch. I'm just conscious what she is. She's on my arm. It can take a little while for them to hatch. So these species typically take about 6 months or so for their eggs to hatch. There she is. But some species, it can take up to anywhere between a matter of months to up to 3 years. So they are quite a long. They take a long time to hatch. So one of the reasons they're camouflage is because they sit on the floor. Obviously, they just drop them and they sit on the floor wherever they land. So they're quite prone in those 3 years to being eaten by vertebrates or things. So one of the reasons to camouflage them as seeds is basically just to keep them well hidden. There's a bit of a flaw in that because obviously there are some animals that eat seeds. So we're not entirely sure if that's true or not. There's another theory, again, not entirely sure if it's true, but that is that birds will come along and eat those seeds, or they think are seeds, and they will carry them, they will poo them out somewhere else, and that will help to disperse the genetic population, which I think is quite a cool theory. I don't know if it's true or not. I think more research needs to be done on that. Thank you, Benito. Awesome stuff, Yussef. I think it's time for you to put the bug on your mug. I mean, I kind of saw that coming. I feel like I've put all these celebrities through it. I need to do the same thing, I think. So here we go. They're quite tickly, and like I say, they've got a good grip. So she should be able to stand on my face there. It is quite painful, so you can feel those claws. I hope you're enjoying this, Benito. You can feel those claws definitely in my skin. It kind of feels like a bit of a pin cushion. Like I'm the pin cushion rather, and she's just jabbing me with six claws. She won't be able to stand up on my hair. She won't get a good grip, so I'll take her off. But there you go. Anyone wants a bug on their mug? Let me know. But yeah, that's these guys. Another cool thing about stick insects and all invertebrates, as far as I'm aware. Oh, she just did a poo. Is that they shed their skin, so they don't grow like we do. We grow continuously up until a certain age, obviously. But these guys grow through instars, which are phases they go through, and they grow in stages. So basically, what happens? Insect could go between maybe 6 instars throughout its life to up to about 12, and each instar is a growth spurt, basically. So they break out of their exoskeleton. And I actually have a little exoskeleton here for you to see. It's a much younger one, but that is effectively their outer skin, I guess you can imagine it as. And basically, the process is the insect will break out of this skin, and it will reappear. Reappear, I guess that's the right word. Bigger. So imagine us breaking out of our skin and appearing a foot taller. That's effectively what's happening, which is pretty remarkable. But it also puts them in a pretty vulnerable position because they're soft-bodied when they come out of their exoskeleton. It takes a little time for them to harden up, so they're quite vulnerable to predators and to any sort of accidents. Yeah, that's these guys. What else do we have? A question? If you guys have got any questions as well, by the way, do let me know. I will do my best to answer them. We've got a question. Any particular insects you'd recommend as pets? So this is a good question. Like any animals, obviously you have to do your research. You have to be 100% sure you know what you're doing. I'm not going to say they take the same amount of care requirement as a dog or a cat. But as a pet owner, you do have a duty of care to give the best possible welfare to your animals. So a few things to take into consideration. Things like diets, what they eat. So these guys, like I said, are herbivores. But you can get some animals or insects like praying mantises that are carnivorous. So they will eat other small invertebrates, which might not be a problem to you, but you have got to make sure you can get hold of those small invertebrates. I found herbivores are just easier because it's easier to get hold of bramble and things. Have them their entire lives. With insects, I don't know if it's still working. It says it's reconnecting. Let me know if you can still see me. With insects, they don't tend to live that long. These guys max out about a year old, which is a bit of a shame. They don't tend to live past a year. but yeah, so there's that. Also take into consideration heating. So a lot of insects will come from tropical places. They might need certain heating requirements, humidity. So with these guys, I spray these guys twice a day because they like a high humidity level. Yeah, so take all that into consideration. Make sure you do research. I would say stick insects are one of the easiest to keep, in my opinion. They're pretty non-aggressive. They're easy to I was going to say tame, but they're pretty much naturally tame. They don't really do a lot, and they're really cool to look at. So, if these guys interest you, I would recommend them, and make sure you do research. Okay, we've got another question here. Um, okay, this is an interesting one. So, how many legs does a millipede really have? So, a lot of people think because millipede means 1,000 legs, 1,000 feet, sorry. So a lot of people think they've got 1,000 legs. Some people think they've got a million legs, but they're a special kind of person, those people. But they don't actually have 1,000 or a million. Um, the living species of millipede today, the record I think is about 400 legs, but in general, no more than a few hundred. And of course, millipedes have more legs than centipedes because on each body segment, centipedes only have one pair of legs, whereas millipedes have two pairs of legs on each body segment. So theoretically, they have twice as many legs as if they didn't need enough already, as if they didn't have enough already. Yeah, so hopefully that answers your question. And then finally, I've got any advice for others looking to follow a similar path. Okay, so I guess that means like the presenting route or the science communication stuff. Um, there's a lot of things like advice people would be able to give you. Like I say, I'm quite early on into this, so I'm not sure I should the right person to be giving this advice. But I'll give you some advice. First of all, just make videos. Make it about anything. It doesn't matter if you're filming on a potato like me right now, or if you've got like a HD camera. It doesn't really matter. Understanding that your videos are probably going to be awful to begin with. So is it working? It says yeah, I think we're back. Yeah, so your videos are probably going to be pretty bad to begin with. Mine were terrible. I've taken most of my early videos down because they're cringe-worthy. But that's okay. It's okay to realize that. And it's all a learning curve. It's all about practicing. You're never going to be the best at something when you first start out. So and you'll be quite surprised how quickly you improve as well. So that's that. Another piece of advice is to network. This is one of those industries where I was gonna say unfortunately, but I guess it's just the nature of the beast, I suppose. But it's one of those industries where you need to network because it's about who you know. Um, and in some ways, that's almost as important as talent, I would say. So you've got to be talented, obviously, but you've also got to be really good at networking because you've got to put yourself out there, get your face recognized, because obviously the more recognized you are, the more likely you are to get a job, I would say. That's my advice. And finally, any advice? I'd just say don't give up. There are going to be people who tell you it's an unrealistic expectation, both people in the industry and outside of the industry, and tell you how hard it is to get into. And they're right, it's very hard. But if you're really passionate about it, really driven, then just don't give up. Because, I mean, if 100 people are thinking they want the same career path as you, I mean, 95 of them will probably give up pretty early on. So if you're still in that five left, you stand a pretty good chance of going where you want to go. I hope that made sense. I feel like I rambled a little bit there, but yeah, that's it really. I hope you've enjoyed this live session. Say goodbye to the stick insect, and thank you, Roxy, for having me. It's been a lot of fun. Hope you guys have enjoyed it, and I will say goodbye now. Thanks a lot.